So I wanted to draw attention to this. This is the last C4, and I know that when Mike Yager bought this, he had everybody down the assembly line sign it. And if you look here, you can see, and it's all over. I saw this being made down the factory line. And if YouTube doesn't bark at me, I'll try to show some footage of that. Never had the plastic removed from the seats. This was 1996, the last C4. As long as there's no copyright problems, I'll try to show a clip of that going down the assembly line where Mike Yager had everybody sign it.
It's early in the morning at the General Motors assembly plant in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Officially, these folks are working on job number 21,477, a white coupe. But there is something so special about this car. They will sign it. They will celebrate it. They will even save the protective wrapping that covered it. They will build this, the last of a legendary generation of Corvettes known as the C4s. It is the car that made the Corvette more famous than it ever was. It is the car that baby boomer Corvette lovers could finally own after growing up dreaming about America's sports car. It is Mike's car, the man who wanted the last C4 so much that he watched them install just about every bolt. For this is the absolute latest refinement to the dream that started 44 years and over 1 million cars ago. It takes about a week to make a Corvette. Every bit of the assembly will be done in Bowling Green. This is the hometown of every C4 on the road. The last C4s will all be white. Actually, most of the 96 Corvettes are white. Red or black are about tied for second. The last C4 started the day with about 200 of its brothers and sisters. There are 3,000 parts in a C4, including this piece of rubber in the back, a visor in the front, and a passenger door panel on the side. Mike didn't count them all, but he sure noted them.
I mean, you see the parts and pieces, and it's really slick how it's all assembled, all the jig fixtures.
Oh, and we should also mention, Mike was happy to be here and see this.
You always think, wouldn't it be neat if it were mine or if I got to do it? And guess what? Today's my day. It's mine.
This is exciting for you, isn't it?
You can't tell, can you?
Now, to remember the hundreds of people he would meet, he had each of them sign his car as it went down the line. And that's why there's lots of names by the seat. It's why there are names by the gas tank, below the dash, and, well, every place.
Free to get your autograph if there's any problems with wherever it is in the car. I know who to go to.
In case you want to make a Corvette at home, you put in the dash fairly early in the assembly. Mike's car got that last C4 dash about 2 hours into its last day. Oh, and you don't want to make any mistakes on the last car. You see, General Motors workers walked right behind it and would tear out the equipment that was just used. Clearly, there is nothing on the line after this car. It is the absolute end of the line, the end of an era. And speaking of the end, you put the end on the car not long after you put in the dash. A worker sits on the cart that is carrying the car. She starts working on the wires, and then they put on the rear bumper. Now, we have not heard of a case yet where someone took off their license plate and found a worker inside. So we do assume she does get out. And as soon as the rear end was on, the equipment came down. Next, the top support is padded, and sure, Mike said sign it.
Why did you want people to sign it?
It's history.
They're people that put their heart and soul into building a car, and they deserve the recognition and just the self-satisfaction that somewhere the last 1996 Corvette, the last of the C4 car, has their name on it. They're craftsmen, all artists sign their work.
By now, Mike's last of a legend had a spark of light. Wow, the lights work. It's coming to life. And again, as it comes to life, it's lights out for the tester. The Grim Reaper team continues to tear out everything behind the car, as there will never be another C4 built. It doesn't seem possible that it's been 13 model years, more than 350,000 cars, since that very first one rolled off this line. Mike's Mid-America Designs grew to a multi-million-dollar business during the run. It's why he asked then Chevy head Jim Perkins to sign up to buy the last C4. The V8 comes from Flint, Michigan, just to power the Vette. Like the C4, this is it for those Flint motors in Corvettes. An unknown Flint employee scribbled on the shipping tag, "After 41 years, the end." The transmission now becomes a mate for life to the block, and then we have the moment of conception, the stamping of the serial number. And we don't need to tell you the importance of matching numbers on Corvettes. All this is certainly something to witness and sign. Mike got more than the customary 2 witnesses to important items. He wanted anyone who had anything at all to do with this to sign it. For behind this one, the engine hooks were empty. This was it. The engines travel a shorter route to the eventual marriage with the body. First, though, the engines will get something to go along for the ride. The last of everything comes out of the bin for the last C4. Mike watches intently. It's the kind of stuff you never really get to see unless you hang around the bottom of your car. It's also the kind of stuff you never see unless you meet the people who made your C4. Okay, now that's really fascinating to see. Mike has to just tell people about it.
They're dropping the rear end down. It's 1 unit away from the engine going in it.
The engine is slowly heading to the body as Donna puts in the alternator. Chuck is putting in the gas tank as the body is moving overhead on its slow trip to that predestined meeting with the engine. Chuck is working on the car that he dreamed of as a kid. It will be amazing how the engine and the body are a mile of track apart, and yet they will meet at one precise moment. The excitement mounts. Employees give Mike a thrill by asking the Corvette expert for autographs.
Today, the plant workers wanting my autograph was pretty, I had to contain myself from just kind of smiling and saying, gee, this is fun.
And then the moment is here. The top meets the bottom. From now on, this won't be a chassis and a body. This will be an automobile. This will be that last C4. The skilled UAW workers take on a new guy to relish in the moment.
I put the shock absorbers on the car, the right side. Now, if they fall off, it's my fault. I guess you look at significant things in your life, perhaps your wedding, birth of children, and there it is, the birth of your Corvette. I mean, they're put together. It was born. Nifty.
Empty trolleys follow the last C4. It's been well over a decade since there were no more on order. And the car moves overhead, looking like a UFO as more workers add parts.
It was one of the best cars we ever built.
It wasn't exactly a build-your-own deal, but Mike got to put on the tires. Now some Corvette trivia here. Mike's last C4 was a coupe. How many cars ahead was the last convertible? Well, you're going to have to ask Mike for the answer. We will tell you, though, it was white with a gray interior. By noon now, Mike's car was indeed a car, and most of the line had been torn out and cleaned up. It was nearly impossible to tell that a car was ever built here. Now here's another piece of trivia. General Motors gives you 6 gallons of gas to get going.
6 gallons, that would take you back home, won't it?
Yeah, at the speeds I drive, of course it would.
By the way, it does look like Mike may have even gotten a little extra squirt. Now, most workers are enthusiastic about Corvettes, but then we come to Mr. Ernest Foote. He is mega enthusiastic about these cars. He is the one who will prepare the car for its first start. Yep, there are the keys.
There you go. Don't give it no gas. Mike.
Okay,
Just
just-
turn the ignition off. Okay.
We are almost through. There is but one car left. There is one more task. Oops, the hood is a little off. Okay, a little adjustment, and it closes. Well, it closes like a Corvette hood should. And that's how Mike's C4 was made. And that's why that June day of 1996 would be famous around Bowling Green. But like any new birth, Mike's C4 had to spend the night here. It had to be tested, aligned, and aligned. And then it had to face a tropical rainstorm, flood, and a car wash.
You go to a dealer showroom, a car is done. But you come here and see it be built, you see it's built by people, you know, the heart and soul of America. To me, the Corvette is red, white, and blue in America, and you go out in that plant and see the men and women building the car, and that's America's sports car.